In today's episode of Project Sacrifice, we dive deep into ProjectE. With that being said, let's get into today's episode. In the last episode, we made the Philosopher's Stone, which was a huge stepping stone for this series. And today, I want to try and make the Transmutation table, which is going to require us to take our Philosopher's Stone and stamp the Energy Condenser MK2, which is going to require us to go ahead and make the Energy Condenser MK1. However, we are going to need the fluid encapsulator with 1000 millibuckets of lumium, and of course the energy condenser requires a alchemical chest with 1000 millibuckets of Hepatizon, which is also a interesting one. So the alchemical chest is actually relatively cheap. We can actually make that right this second, which is really good. So let's go ahead and make that bad boy. So we are just missing a chest, of course. So once we make this is going to allow us to go ahead and take a look at making the next step, which is going to be Molten Hepatizon. There is our alchemical chest like so, and what we're going to go ahead and need to do is take Molten Hepatizon, which is going to require us to make it in the induction smelter with copper, invar, and obsidian. Now, how much do I get for melting this down? 90. Okay, so 90 is what we get for this. So we need 1000, right? So we need approximately 12 ingots of Hepatizon. So to do that, we're going to need at least 6 of the invar and obsidian, and of course 12 copper. Let's get this bad boy into the induction smelter. With the Hepatizon, what we're going to go ahead and do is toss that bad boy into this guy, and we do not have enough heat to melt this item. Here's another question then. Can I cheese this a little bit and use the magma crucible? I cannot. So we have to use a smeltery with either proto lava, soul lava, or blazing blood. Okay, so that's interesting. So I guess the best way to do that, is to take the rest of our blaze heads and melt them down. So we only have like 6 blaze heads left. I hope that's enough. With our newly acquired blaze blood, let's hopefully hope that we can melt this down, and we can, thankfully. Now let's hope that it doesn't take too much of our blazing blood, because again, we don't really have a lot of it, and making blaze eggs is kind of a bit of a problem because of this genetic compound. It's really annoying to craft, and I'm actually gonna swap these because I don't want to accidentally use the smeltery and waste my blazing blood. Now that we've got that, let's go ahead and take our thingy and move it out the ingot cast and put in the bucket like so, and then get that bad boy in there nice and filled with a bucket of Hepatizon like so, and that should be everything that we need for the MK1. So this guy here is going to require us to do that, and we're gonna need the fluid encapsulator next, which honestly looks super cheap. Thank you, pack creator, for making it relatively cheap to make. As I say, I don't have things that we need. Let's see, copper gears, that's easy enough for us to make. The redstone flux thing is easy enough for us to make. The machine frame is actually relatively cheap to make. The only thing that we don't have is the tin gear like so, and then that should be done. Now it does look like we need a special kind of glass for this. It needs tinted glass or normal glass. There it is. Beautiful. Fluid encapsulator like so. Plop it over here with all this stuff. Do I have any extra power cables? I do. Let's go ahead and grab those and make sure that this is all hooked up like so, and then all we gotta do is take our molten Hepatizon, put it in here with our alchemical chest, and once we do that, that should be relatively simple. There is that. So that's going to encapsulate the thing to make the very first energy condenser, and then once we make that, that's going to then go back into here, and we need to melt down exactly 12 ingots of lumium, which we do not have. I think I can make lumium. Oh, is lumium? Oh no, it's constantan and ruby dust. Oh, you gotta be kidding. Okay, this is relatively cheap. Ruby dust, we have some left over. I think we get super. That should be enough there. Do we have enough constantan? We do not have enough constantan, and constantan was invar and amethyst bronze. Okay, that's not too bad. So it turns out you actually need the blazing blood for melting down aluminum as well. So let's go ahead and toss it in there. Hopefully it doesn't mix with the Hepatizon, because if it does, I mean, it doesn't really matter because we've got literally infinite lumium. But I was wondering, I guess you can't really do do the Hepatizon with the Inoculus, that would have been really useful. Unfortunately, you can't do that. And I need another bucket because unfortunately our ice melted, but luckily, you know, we don't really need it that bad anymore. But also we can also use our Philosopher's Stone to make more ice. So it's not really too bad of a problem to have, but there we go. Now we have the molten lumium like so. All we got to do is take it to the fluid encapsulator and make the MK2. And then we are going to want to make another one of these. Actually, I don't think we're going to need another one of these actually, now that I think about it, unless if it's used in another recipe, which it very well could be used in another recipe like the EMC link for automation later down the road. Yeah, we're definitely going to want to make a second one of those once we get our transmutation table. Now we can take this guy over here, put it in the depot like so with our Philosopher's Stone as a thing, and then that should boop it and give us the transmutation table. So the way the transmutation table works is, let's say we're going to take this lumium essence and make lumium ingots. We can take it into this table here and we can put it into the fire and or this slot right here, and it's going to teach that item to the transmutation table. And if you put it in the fire, it's going to go ahead and burn it and give you the value of said EMC. For example, block of electrum is 4,864. So if we go ahead and burn that, that's going to give us, well, it's going to learn it, but it's also going to give us that 4,000 EMC. As you can see, we are now up to 69,000. If you want to get fast EMC in this pack, what you can do is use your Oculus to go ahead and get a bunch of gold essence, and then take this gold essence and put it into your whatever crafting station you have and craft it into gold ingots, and then go ahead and, you know, make the gold blocks and get all the EMC you'll ever want. Okay, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to teach all of the low covalence and high covalence and medium covalence stuff to my table like so. Also going to go ahead and make the next MK2 so that way we can go ahead and teach that as well. And I have already taught all the things to make Hepatizon to my EMC table. However, we don't really have a good way of making a way to make blazing blood right now, because again, blazing blood is made by melting down blaze heads, which honestly don't have a EMC value, unluckily. I guess we could make more blazes. Oh, that's a problem. We made a mess. I had to make a few things because I kept messing up. Yeah, so now we have about a bucket's worth of molten blazing blood. I went and made more blaze eggs to make the things that we needed for that. So there we go. And let's go ahead and drop in this bad boy right here to go ahead and make the MK1. I also already taught the alchemical chest as well into the transmutation table, and we're also going to do the same thing with the energy condenser and the energy condenser MK2. So once we do that, we should be able to do this now, and that's going to go in there. Perfect. And then we just need some lumium, exactly 12 lumium, and we should be good to go ahead and melt that in the smeltery. Now I wish the blaze eggs did have an EMC value, but unfortunately they don't. And also I don't think that would work too well, considering that it probably has like some very much weird MBT data. So I don't know how ProjectE handles that anymore. So let's go ahead and do that and then dump that onto here like so. And then that should be everything that we need for the MK2 as soon as we get it over here. And let's go ahead and pop this in here. Now also keep in mind as well that we can now also teach the transmutation table, because we're about to make a second one as well once we get our Philosopher's Stone over here. Also, question, did that use my Philosopher's Stone? Where is my Philosopher's Stone? I hope that didn't use my Philosopher's Stone. I mean, it's more annoying. It looks like it did take my Philosopher's Stone, so that's kind of annoying. Luckily, we have 5 more rubies. Let's also go ahead and make sure that we teach rubies to our transmutation table, because if we lose all of our rubies, I don't want to have to go through that whole crafting chain again. Ain't no way you're gonna make me do that whole thing over again. Let's go ahead and teach our Philosopher's Stone like so, and now we shouldn't have to worry about losing it, which is good. So let's go ahead and take this energy condenser MK2 and teach it to the transmutation table like so. And then of course, let's go over to our depot over here and smack it with a Philosopher's Stone like so. And yeah, it does indeed use it, unfortunately. I guess I didn't see that the first time, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and do that, and we should be good to go. Now here's a better question. How expensive is the Arcane tablet? That is relatively cheap. It just requires these guys, which is just a transmutation table stamped. Okay, I can do that. Now this Magnum Star is a bit expensive. However, I'm not saying that we can't do it. We do have 1 diamond left. Also, is diamonds made with the diamond essence? I cannot. There's not not a good way to generate diamonds, unfortunately. That's kind of a sad. I guess it is what it is, right? So let's go ahead and make the tablet. So let's get our transmutation table and let's go throw it in our stamper boy, which is going to be right over here. So if I pop that in there, that should stamp. Lovely jovely. And we can go ahead and teach this to this. We cannot. Oh, it doesn't have an EMC value. I didn't even notice that. So I wonder what's the best route for us to make EMC right now, because we are going to need 100 million EMC to make the Arcane transmutation tablet, which this is my favorite one, by the way. So I kind of want this. So that's relatively cheap as well. This is the most expensive thing. So I wonder what's the best route to go about this. So let me grab my Philosopher's Stone and let's make the fuels next. So the fuels are just the Philosopher's Stone plus 4 coal, and then it's going to make the Alchemical coal, and then the Alchemical coal plus 4 should make the Mobius coal. So let's do that, and that's going to be what we turn into the Aeternalis fuel after we grab 4 of those as well out of the system, like so. And that's going to make the Aeternalis fuel, which is the best fuel that you can get from ProjectE. So now that we've got that, this is now going to be converted into red matter or dark matter using diamond blocks. Do we need that for the Magnum store? I'm pretty sure we don't. So if I grab 8 of these, or 7 rather, and we put a diamond block in the middle, so we need 9 diamonds for that. I think our best option right now for EMC is going to be gold essence, that is, but that shouldn't be relatively hard. So teach the diamond blocks like so, and the diamond block in the middle like so, surrounded by the Aeternalis fuel, is going to give us dark matter. That's not what I wanted, but fair enough. We're definitely going to want that for sure. We are going to want to make the Magnum star is what we're trying to make. So it's this guy, right? Star Aaron. Yeah, Star Aaron is what we need. So we need Klein Star, Sphere, Veer, Dre, and Zui. Zui is, okay, Mobius fuel and diamond. Okay, that's where I went wrong. So diamond plus Mobius fuel. Okay, fair enough. So Mobius fuel times 8. And I think what I'm gonna do while I'm at it is I'm gonna try and make the repairs talisman, because the repairs talisman, if you didn't know, will allow you to repair items in your inventory. So if we look at the repairs talisman, so this guy right here, actually relatively cheap. I didn't think it was gonna be that cheap, but if we take this and we get a bunch of these from the EMC table, let me just quickly throw my stuff into a chest really quickly, because I want to get literally an entire inventory full of these guys, so that way I can go ahead and quickly repair my Essentia Oculus if it works. That's the main thing. It does work, and all I gotta do is just grab a bunch of these repairs talisman, and over the next few seconds it should fill up this durability. The reason why I wanted to do that to fix up my Essentia Oculus is because when it's damaged, it doesn't have an EMC value. As you can see, it has an EMC value of 1. So I can go ahead and put that in there, and I should be able to grab it out of here as many times as I want, and I don't have to ever worry about it ever breaking, which is really good. Where are we in the quest book? Actually, hold on. Before we do that, I'm getting distracted. Let's try and get as much EMC as humanly possible with this thing. Now, I could do myself a favor now, and we can make the remote. The remote is a really cool item that we can go ahead and make. So we want the, I believe, crafting remote, right? This guy here. And it's going to need some sea lanterns, a storage request table, which I believe I have all this stuff. Let me just grab my pickaxe and deal with this. Okay, so I should be able to go ahead relatively quickly make this crafting remote, and I think this doesn't need anything else. I believe I just shift right click this, or shift right click the network table or root, and I should now have access to my inventory anywhere in the world, which is really nice. So now I can just sit here and literally get as much essence as humanly possible, maybe even fill this entire chest up and try and get as many of this stuff as possible. Alrighty, much much later, I now have a lot of gold blocks, and I mean a lot of gold blocks. I went ahead and just made so much gold, man. And I mean like so much gold to the point where I'm lagging. It is so freaking bad. So let's go over to my transmutation table like so, and then drop off all this EMC into this baby like so. This is actually a lot of EMC. Honestly, a lot of fun. Now I just gotta literally clean all this out of my system. With all of our gold now in the transmutation table, what we're gonna go ahead and do is take our Dree boy and craft it into the Zwee boy like so. So bam, bam, and bam. And now we have Zwee. Zwee is then gonna get crafted into the next tier like so. And then once we do that, it's literally just a sit here and craft until get to the Magnum Star, which is quite fun, honestly. I love doing this. And just like that, we now have the Magnum Star, which is perfect. Yes, the Magnum Star Aaron is now ours. Perfect. Now we can take this guy and we can use him in the crafting recipe of the transmutation arcane table. Now we are going to need a few of these. Let me grab a few of these. I think I only need one, right? Does the stone transmutation table have an EMC value? It does. Okay, beautiful. So let's grab a basic philosopher stone and 8 of these transmutation tables, throw them like that, and then boom, we have our very first stone transmutation table from Project EX. We're gonna need at least 3 more of those like so, and then we have the 2 of those, that, and I believe all we need for the rest of this is going to be a chest and a crafting table. Okay, that is relatively simple. I do need to make a quick chest, so let me make that really fast. And then we also need a quick crafting table, which shouldn't be that bad to make either. Boom, boom, boom. And then let's not forget to teach these things. Bam and bam. And then let's go ahead and craft up our arcane transmutation table. Boom. Now we are going to need to take this and put this in here, and boom. One of the best items in the entire ProjectE universe, the arcane transmutation tablets. I just had a thought. Does this have an EMC value right now? Because if it does, I want to take advantage of that. It does. Let's go ahead and learn that bad boy. So the MK5 collector, we can take 5 of these, 6 of these, and get an energy condenser MK2 like so, and a diamond block, or even, hey, even a red matter block as well if we really wanted to. So that's only going to require 3 dark matter like so, and then some Eternalist fuel like so, and then that should make us red matter. And then this red matter can be turned into blocks. So let's go ahead and throw that in there, and let's get some red matter really quickly. All we have to do is take this red matter quickly and turn it into a block, and that block will then go ahead and be put into the collector. So let me grab this. Actually, can we upgrade these? I assume we can upgrade these relatively simply. Yeah, we can upgrade these. I wonder, is it worth spending the EMC if we can? That might be a really good question, because if we can upgrade this, that's like better passive EMC as well. But before I do that, let me make sure that this actually works the way I think it works. So let me put this down like so, put this on top, and then put the red matter block inside. It does work that way. Unfortunately, guys, we're out of time for today's episode of Project Sacrifice. With that being said, if you guys did enjoy today's episode of Project Sacrifice, do me a huge favor, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, ding dong notification bell, become a part of the Council of Elder. As always, guys, I love you. I'm gonna leave you till next time. Bye bye.